just about those last 20 minutes, because this is what really surprised me. Inter have their chance with the Lautaro.
Yeah.
3 minutes later comes the goal. There's an element of good fortune as well there because it's deflected, and you mentioned Bastoni not coming out as quickly enough. Rodri scores, and I thought, okay, at 1-0, this is pretty much it.
Yeah.
City can keep the ball away.
They control the game.
Inter with their older players chasing them, running around. They just make the pitch big. They'll either win 1-0 and Inter won't see the ball for the rest of the game, or if ideally with City, they'll score a couple more, because the spaces will open up. But it didn't happen. And at the end, it was genuinely frantic.
It was.
From City. In the last 5 minutes,
I
felt sure that Inter were going to score.
They lost a lot of control in that second half for the team, for a team like this one from City. And we've said, and that Pep had been searching for this ultimate control of games. You don't concede much, almost anything. You still create. You have the ball. You're in the position play is perfect. For all of that, which, to be fair, in the first half they did, because Inter, apart from maybe the Barella lob when Ederson mispassed the ball, they gave nothing away really. That all went out of the window in the second half, especially in the last 25 minutes, like you said, Gab. And
when it should be easier.
Yeah, and Stones went to right back because I think Pep got scared. At 1-0, I think he got a little bit scared of saying, like, okay, now they're going to push. Lukaku is on. They're going to start to play long balls, which Inter did. And to be fair, the two chances, the Di Marco on the crossbar and then the big Lukaku one, are either set piece for the second one or crosses into the box, which they didn't really do before that moment. So maybe there was a bit of Pep and the whole team thinking like, oh man, we 1-0 up, we're in the lead, we have got 20 minutes to go. If we defend well, and even if we just defend, we're going to win this. So maybe even subconsciously they're starting dropping a little bit deeper, thinking more about defending than attacking again. I don't know, because it was really strange to see City like that. And Inter are really good, and we said they played so well. But yeah, you would have expected City to just even pass the ball and do like a massive rondo for 20 minutes and see the game out.
So we know Pep's mentality, like that of a lot of sort of serial winners, is you win, you celebrate. I mean, I think even now as we record this on a Monday morning, he's already thinking to next season, and maybe I'm sure he's probably rewatched the game before the parade today and saying like, all right, what could we have done different? And maybe seeing if there's something he could have done different, maybe seeing if some players leaving are going to allow him to make different personnel decisions.
Yeah.
Would it have been a different game with a fit KDB in there?
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, that last 20 minutes, is that down to Pep? Because if Inter equalize and then somehow win on penalties, we're here killing Pep for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
More than we're praising Inter.
Yeah, but
so
remember
what could they have done differently?
Remember the end of the Atletico Madrid last 16-second leg last season, for example, where it was 0-0 and they really struggled. And the last 20 minutes, Pep was doing nothing. It was just like Pep was praying, and that was it. And they were under pressure, and Atleti were coming and crossing and set pieces and corners and wide free kicks and everything. And they somehow escaped and qualified, if you remember. And I felt that this one was a bit like that. It was almost just Pep saying, oh, now we have to be strong, now we have to suffer. And we've said all season that they seem to have learned how to suffer. And yeah, they got a bit lucky, of course, but maybe that's part of the suffering process. I don't know if Pep could have done anything different. Would you bring Calvin Phillips? Would you bring Riyad Mahrez to keep the ball a bit more? Could we look at his substitution and say, okay, maybe Mahrez, just to keep the ball, just to keep a bit of the ball, get fouled, so you get a free kick, you lose a bit of time.
You break the momentum.
Yeah, so maybe Mahrez not coming on could have been a bit surprising. But
I was wondering if because he's going to second guess himself internally, right? Not in public, but because this is how you get better.
Of course,
this is how you improve. You go back to what you've done, even when you've been successful, and you ask, okay, how could I have done this better? So please don't take this as a criticism of Pep, but it is something that he's going to look back on.
But this is the most important of his 3 Champions League, right? Is this also the most? Is this the best because it's been so long since he had to wait? Because clearly in the final they had to work so hard for it, and maybe the fact that there was so much at stake for him, as you said, if he'd lost this one, I mean, he should have gone in hiding for 3 months almost. And is that because maybe he was a little bit, I don't know, paralyzed is maybe a bit too strong, but at the end he was a little bit like. I don't know what the word, but But it was tense because of that.
Yeah.
Listen, the first one he won in 2009, that's his first season, everything almost went his way great. The 11-1, this is maybe the best football team we've ever seen. So I'm not saying that those were easy, they were not easy, but they were like just the flow was there, everything.
Right.
This is very different.
Well, I think there's no question he was incredibly emotionally invested on this one. And when you're at a game, you pick up little moments. I don't know if this was even shown on television. But after the Akanji mistake that leads Lautaro through.
Yeah, when he dropped to the floor.
He drops on the floor. He's on his hands and knees
Yeah.
like a toddler. And he's literally on his hands and knees looking up as Ederson makes a save. I thought that's a really powerful imagery. And I was struck by another image at the end when the final whistle goes. All the City players run down to celebrate at the City end. All of them except for one, Ederson. Ederson just collapses to the ground. I don't know if he was praying. I don't know if he's a religious man. I don't know what he was doing. If he was just emotionally spent. Seconds earlier, of course, he'd made that save off the Robin Gosens header, which, again, last night on the show, Stevie Nicol says, oh, well, he just, it was a desperation header and he just potted away. I'm like, yeah, but you still have to be mentally alert for that. I was just really struck by that with Ederson. Now, he recovered nicely enough that he ended up messing around with a guy like shaving the mustache and whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought that was such a moment of humanity from Ederson, such a just unfiltered, unfettered response, because he's literally down there. The only people near him are the Inter fans, or the Inter players.
Yeah,
some of whom eventually help him up.
Yeah, no, I saw him as well, and I agree with you. I love that Ilkay Gundogan was the only City player while everybody was celebrating, and then we said KDB came over, especially to see Lukaku and everybody else. But Gundogan, as great captains do, was there shaking everybody's hand from Inzaghi to all the players, the subs, the youngsters, the staff, everybody there before going back to celebrate and then lift the trophy. And I thought, what a great gesture from Gundogan, who is a really great person, but still, it didn't have to be like that. He could have waited another 5 minutes, for example. But I thought that was a very, very nice gesture.
What did you make of the refereeing?
I thought he let the game flow, and we were not sat next to each other to reveal all the details. I was on the French radio as well during the game, and I thought there was he let a lot of the game go. I thought both teams, and especially Inter, were not happy with him because of that. I think Gundogan, and we discussed that, should have had at least a yellow card, certainly the one on Lautaro when he clattered him.
We get two on Lautaro. The one in the first half, more so.
Yeah, the one in the first half.
I don't think he does the second one where he literally he just chucks him in the air. I don't think the second one happens if he's on a yellow. There's no way he does that.
Yeah, maybe.
So in some ways they're related. I don't
know. It's a hard one because it's a hard one to referee. Let's not forget, because Inter plays so well, they defend well, they're very Italian as well in the way they defend and the way they approach this game, and City are maybe a bit more physical in the way they play, especially defensively. So it's a Champions League final, and I think he did well.
I agree too. I mean, we can debate that forever, but one yellow card more or less could have changed the game, maybe. But in that context, in those nearly 100 minutes with the time added on and whatever, I thought he let the game flow. At the end, he started flashing cards to avoid things boiling over, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. So I think he was the right appointment for the final, and I think he officiated well. I want to throw something else about. Actually, no. Before I get to Pep, Kevin De Bruyne coming off
again. I felt for him. So
you do
much.
Feel for him, don't you?
I mean, the Rudiger one in 2021. It's a clash. I mean, maybe Rudiger was a little bit naughty, but there's nothing you can do. If you're De Bruyne, there's nothing you can do. You come off. This one, a muscular injury like that, 30 minutes in, must be so frustrating. As a player, must be so frustrating. The one before, you can blame Rudiger a bit if you want, but there's nothing you can do. This one, I don't know if he didn't warm up well. I don't know if there's some point where he went for a ball he shouldn't have gone. I really don't understand how the hamstring can go like that. But it's been a long season. Maybe it's been, injuries have kind of crept in really with KDB the last 3 years.
I think we're seeing the wisdom. Remember when they extended his contract, and when people say like, "Oh, give him whatever he wants." So people have this conversation now with Gundogan, right? People like, "Oh, give him whatever he wants and whatever." I think City didn't do that with De Bruyne, right? It was a huge negotiation. They only gave him the 2-year extension, and I think this is why they're taking the same attitude with Gundogan. Maybe part of the reason why he's not sure if he's going to stay. And I think it's the right thing to do, because the reality is, as players pass 30. Their bodies change, and you as a club have to do what's right for you. Now, I'm sure De Bruyne will be fit again. For me, he remains City's most important player.
Yeah, it was not the same without him.
And it was not the same without him.
No, definitely not.
And
just a word quickly on Julian Alvarez, who didn't come on in the finals, albeit to be fair, but who still completed football at the age of 23 because he's won literally everything that he's played for, apart from the League Cup, I guess, but we can forgive him for that. The World Cup, the Libertadores, the Copa America, the Champions League, the league in England, in Argentina, the Cups in the 2 countries. I mean, I know he didn't play in the final and didn't play much, I would think, in the knockout stages either. But he's still there. He's got all the medals. I mean, already the kid has a trophy cabinet bigger than a lot of clubs in the world. So, wow, okay.
These are the kind of stats that do not impress me, as you
why
know.
Not?
Because
what? You know how many players have done the double World Cup, Champions League, or European Cup in the same year?
I don't know about the same year. Marco Materazzi did it.
Try to get.
I mean, this is the kind of trivia.
Marco Materazzi didn't do it.
Not in the same year, but
no, the same year. So the same year you win the World Cup and the Champions League or the European Cup at the time.
I have no idea.
So the Bayern obviously did it in Bayern Germany. Did it together in '74. So you've got all Sepp Maier and Gerd Müller and all those guys, Beckenbauer, and so that's 7 of them, I think. And then you've got Christian Karambeu, obviously did it with France and Real Madrid. You've got Raphael Varane, who did it in 2018 with France and Real Madrid as well. You've got.
This is
the 12th. He's the 12th player.
This is nerd trivia, which for some reason he enjoys.
Only 12 players in the history of the game have done it. It's amazing.
That's fantastic.
It's really
good
amazing.
For them. I want to talk
Julien, well done. Don't listen to him.
I wanted to talk about Pep's future because there's headlines today like, oh, he's going to stay another 2 years. He's to see out his contract. I was just wondering. The thought had crossed my mind, and again, this is another thing that we talked about in Istanbul during our downtime. Would you be tempted to
Roberto Carlos and Sami Khedira are the other 2 men.
Good for them too. Would you be tempted to move on, having done this, having saying like, I have completed another challenge. Yeah. It's like we play the video games. Through the levels, right? What is my next challenge? What is my next level?
But I think that will come. Just not now. I mean, you could leave on a treble, which is incredible. His history. You're the first man to complete 2 trebles with 2 different teams in the history of the game. You've got 3 Champions League. Only Carlo has 1 more than you, but you're almost there. It's not like if you're 5 behind someone or something. But so you could. But then you can potentially win the next 2. You can potentially have a team now if you manage well this transfer window this summer and maybe the next one. But you can have something very special too going on. You know that you are a club where the spine of it, let's call it like that. Certainly the Ferran Soriano, Chiki Begaristain, Pep's staff is super efficient, on the same line, same direction. Yeah. They basically do everything you say. You've got still an amazing squad of players. Even if you lose Gundogan and Bernardo Silva and Mahrez, let's say, it's still pretty impressive. You've got Erling Haaland, who potentially can be the Ballon d'Or winner and the best player in the world for the next whatever years with Kylian. So you could think, okay, let's try again. And then in 2 years, 2025, when your contract expires, you take another sabbatical for a year like you did after Barca. And then you go to Italy, you go to France, I don't know, you go
He'll be
to
55 then, so he'll be young enough to do that.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
or do you think he should go now?
Look, he should. I'm not going to tell him what he should do. He should do. I did wonder. I don't think it's going to happen. But you're right. That would seem like the natural trajectory. The thing that could change it, of course, is the Premier League investigation because I think it's pretty much nailed on that should they be found guilty and depending on the verdict,
you're right.
I think
that
UEFA can actually reopen some of their
yeah.
investigations. There are precedents for this, right? because new evidence would come into light, and then that would be entered, and whatever else. Because not all the charges, of course, are going to be time barred. So there's that kind of unknown. There's a part of me that also wonders, if Inter can create these problems for me, but you said, like, playing very Italian, being very smart, very tactical. Yeah. I don't face many teams in England that play that way.
No.
Would I become a better manager if I went to Italy and did something? Would I become an even better at my job, right?
Yeah.
I think that might be something that crosses his mind. I think if he were to go to France, unless he goes to Paris Saint-Germain,
it could only be
it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But if he went to France and he took over Marseille, and he beat Paris Saint-Germain,
please.
So these things are open, and obviously down the road, maybe a World Cup, but I think only when he's older, because I think he's the kind of guy that needs the kind of the daily engagement. But
do you think this makes him the greatest of all time? And again, you and I are the same. It's hard to compare eras, but if you look at all the criteria that you could look, and really, if you think about the greatest from Ferguson, really maybe in terms of British managers, the best one. Cruyff, of course, more maybe than the Rinus Michels or those Dutch managers. And then, like the Italians, of course, school of managing, from Sacchi to Capello to Lippi. But could it be between Sacchi, Cruyff, and Pep? One of those three has to be the best. Or you add Ferguson into the mix. But
I think he's definitely in the conversation. And I think what makes him in the conversation, unlike some of those others, not all those others, is that obviously he's always done it at big clubs, but he's done it at different clubs, in different contexts, in different cultures. I think that is that's something that sets him apart. And also, he's not just somebody who's won a lot, but he's somebody who's also innovated a lot, right? So you could look at Sacchi and say, okay, you won 2 Champions League titles and you won some things with Milan, and then after that, you didn't really win anything. Yeah, but I also changed the game, right? Cruyff also changed the game. I don't think there's any question that Pep changed the game.
Yeah.
Sir Alex, he didn't really change the game.
No.
Ancelotti didn't really change the game, right? Yeah, they did different things. So when you look at it totally in context, there's no question in my mind that he belongs in that conversation. Now, I know somebody's always going to come out and say this, and I'll be the first to say it. What would really impress me is he went and he took over Coventry this summer and finished mid-table. Yeah. That would be even more. Okay, fine, great. Yeah, all right, cool, right? But that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
so let's put that to one side.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.